Hello, everyone. I'm GoldenHawk, Archpriestess of House of Life, creator of the reestablishment of the Egyptian temple system and its movement onto the internet. And into virtual reality, which is going to take us global. I wanted to speak to you today on solstice. It is most sacred in the pyramid cultures. And in ancient Egypt, it is a celebration of midsummer, the longest day of the year, the greatest time of light. And we look back at the last 2 quarters of the year, back to our spring equinox, and then back again to winter solstice of 2018. There were a couple cycles that started at the end of winter solstice and through the spring equinox. And there has been a great deal that has been balanced and more pieces that have come into awareness. I have been posting awareness pieces for the most part for the last few months with the intent to stir pieces up. And I'm a person who is all about removing conflict. I'm all about critical thinking, all about awareness, and an end of internal conflict of all types. And this has been a demonstration of what's been coming at us, what we live in the midst of day to day, and what is now available for our understanding and knowledge that was hidden for ever, basically, until this time. We've come into a time where personal sovereignty is something that we can reach for, something that we can move towards, and to actually remove the conflict within ourselves, to release generations and generations of programming, removing it, actually getting it out of our epigenetics. It is a time when we can change our thought patterns, and that we may actually have a chance to affect things globally, because we must. If we do not affect things inside the matrix, inside the entrapped consciousness, we will lose the pattern of mammalian life on the planet. It became beyond critical right after the person who's supposedly running this country took office. I'm non-political, but I know a demonic when I see one. Normally I do see them sitting in high political positions all over the world, not just in this country. But we are critical right now. We've moved the doomsday clock beyond the point of extinction. We don't have to stay there. And this has been a hugely bumpy ride. So many of us are connecting into mass consciousness. We're so aware of the tumultuous energy, and there's so much fear, so much anger, sorrow. There's so much mourning. I've had some real difficulties myself through these last months with the loss of the whales and the porpoises here on the coastline, on the west coast, especially in the Pacific Northwest. waves of dead jellyfish. I understand what's going on in the Arctic. I was warned about it back when I was teaching at the Blue Wolf, and this is where we have ended up. We had actually clicked the clock back several minutes up until the last vote that we had that pulled so much money out of the needs of women and children and environmental concerns, like day one. And we've got to be able to come to a point where we can actually hold our own consciousness while being aware of what's going on. Hold our own consciousness in light, moving light through darkness, becoming more aware of our own darkness, clearing it and anchoring ourselves. It's so important to be fully anchored into 1D, fully anchored into 2D, fully anchored into 3D, and to move through the old 4D matrix, to be in the world and not of it, to move through the old beyond into the open field. And it's not totally open anymore. There's a lot of people that have been working for this for a very long time. And in order to become fully connected and multidimensional, and today is a day, as I said, of the longest light. And this horrific struggle, we've got all these pieces coming out on the Schumann scale, and of course I've been posting it for a long time. And we've got people going, oh yeah, it's human consciousness, raising human consciousness. It's really not about raising human consciousness. It's about the frequency of the planet being raised. Our minds cannot stay at a gamma consciousness for much longer than about 2% of any given day. I guess unless we're drugged out to the max, because it's a point of daydreaming and just casting into the future. The gamma mind at that level, if the beta mind isn't really fully integrated and the subconscious hasn't been fairly cleared out into creation in the now for what we want for a future, we're ineffective. It's the planet itself that has had to come up into the higher frequency. She's been unconscious. She was knocked unconscious in the cataclysm. And solar flares have been changing geomagnetic pieces throughout. Yes, it does roll through the, I call it the cuff, around the world, that matrix. But and we've got a lot of higher light workers that are in the 4D field of the higher dimensions that all exist in there. And they're doing expansion pieces, they're doing release pieces, and it's real good that that's happening. But it's not changing the physical world a whole lot. Our point of power and our point of change is now, is within ourselves, and the sun is extremely important. It's Ra, the center of our planetary system. Ra is our star. Ra is the stellar temporal consciousness that we need to be connected to, as much as we need to be connected to the living embodiment and temporal consciousness of the earth. Amun-Ra is a multitude. Amun-Ra resides hidden within. Amun is veiled and in darkness. The veil is your body. The darkness is your flesh. And Amun-Ra is the activated and connected solar plexus, the sun within you. Your star point, the position of source into flesh, which makes of us living souls. And The energy is very extreme. It's lining up and getting ready to move through a multitude of points in the ancient Paleolithic, Neolithic structures around the earth. It's getting ready to pour that light into the ancient stone structures, and it's getting ready to pour the light into us. And at this point, we need to center. Hello, Shlana, Christine. We need to center inside ourselves, and we need to look to the four directions. I'd love to be out doing ceremony out in the field, under the sun at the water's edge, up with Rob Styakum and Liz, who I adore, and I can't get there right now, and I'd love to be with all of you in person. But at this point, I am going to call into Hapi, the keeper of the earth, and I'm just putting the call out, Hapi, and I'm gridded. My place is intoned, sonically aligned, completely gridded, space after space after space. I'm at the astrologers now. It's the right place to be today. But the keeper of the north and the keeper of the connection into earth. And I'm going to call now upon Duamutef, who is the keeper of the east, whose elemental element is movement, aligns communication, brings through light, breath, wind. And I'm also calling now upon Imseti, for I am Set. I am Seti, the keeper of fire in its elemental element, destruction and expansion. And this is the day of the beaming light and the longest light and the strongest connection. Antara, understanding that I am the battleground of integrity and falsehood, understanding that I, that means each of you, singularly and together, and we don't want to be a battleground. I stand strong through the fires of destruction and creation. And now I call upon Kebsenep, the keeper of the west, in the doorway of the Ancient One. Lord, the Aurora Borealis in the dream time, the west, the waters, the emotions. And I call upon the ladies of the ways to Nait, the first flicker from darkness to light, mother of the lightning, and Nebtet, Nephthys, the lady of the south, west, shifting in the swing, holding and creating the seat of the phoenix, Sister-Cat, the scorpion, the lady of poisons and healings, moving back into the northwest, into the gate of Auset, who in her smallest form is Isis. And I stand centered, source within me, reaching deep below into the core of the earth, moving up through the crown to the sun. I hail Ra and bring the energy in. We are seconds away. And there it is. The tightest, strongest beaming alignment from our stellar temporal source into our crown, into our inner source, into the hidden sun, into Amun-Ra, into our awareness, and into the seeds that we've planted, knowing that we are shifting into the time of keeping that which is gestating, into keeping it in our hearts and in our souls, in our minds, into breathing in its life, a keeper of growth, until the time of the first harvest at Lu. And this is the growth. This is the time for our own personal growth, for our connectedness. And give that moment of silence, some deep breaths. This is star source, into the internal source. Remember this and lock it in. This is a piece that is always available. That solar light, even in darkness, is just across the world or moments away. Hold the light, grounded into the depths of the earth, and balanced. Thou art all beloved, as you love yourself. You have been given this life and this one life, this time, with these genetics, with this awareness in this time field, to be that unique expression of spirit, to learn what you need to learn, to grow through what you need to grow through. Be gentle and loving with yourselves, and hold the connections, hold center, be kind. You are still inside you, that 3-year-old, that 5-year-old, that child. You really are. Parent yourself and be good to you. And blessings. Did anyone have any particular questions on anything right this moment? I do want you all to know that we just completed today the piece that we need to bring the academy up. I have had a very hard time getting my courses up because I had been hooked into the wrong type of software, and the new website is now anchored and going into creation level. It's actually going to be done. The academy is going to be in it. I'm going to be starting out with another 5 teachers that have been through Ancient Powers as well as the Samatawi, and some of them a great deal more of my courses, and they will be available also. We are looking at probably, it looks like, the Halcyon Days of Sekhmet to be coming out at the Lionsgate with the full piece The beta courses are running. And those of you who are Ancient Powers grads, if I haven't contacted you, contact me. Because as soon as the Academy is interconnected with the website, we will be doing a beta for bringing in all of Ancient Powers and making it available inside an Academy community with, I'm not sure, Kira, what alien ships they're seeing. I do know that I had a couple Arcturian experiences in the last 7 or 8 days. That's holographic. We do have Guardians. I don't really consider them alien, and they're not exactly ships. It's consciousness constructs. They're holographic. And a great deal of them are Arcturian based, and they are actually guarding the planet right now from some specific problems that we've had, like with the Greys who were taking people. So elucidate. Tell me more, Kira. The Arcturians are really, really heavily connected around Mount Shasta, at Mount Rainier. They've had a lot of stuff going on here in the Pacific Northwest for decades. There is a mothership in a specific area in France. They are holographic, and they're real but not real. Understanding holographic realities is, well, it's interesting. Because someone can be there and not be there and communicate with you and seem very, very real. And it actually can be more than one consciousness that's connecting with you through what we interpret as a single being. And a lot of the outside contact that we get is holographic. The internal piece is how we interpret it. But most of what I see the Arcturian as are big cloud ships, and they have several different shapes. And then there is a golden one that looks almost like a step pyramid that looks like a golden ship in the sky. So I've had some contact with like the boomerang shaped vessels, and I've also had pieces from stellar temporal energies. They're rarely really physical like us. They are bringing in a piece that we can translate, and a lot of people will see them as the exact same thing. And they are coming into some fairly heavy contact over this summer. I've been told that they are going to be shifting in areas that they're going to be working in. So I don't know what other places that they are, but yeah, two contacts myself personally, and they always make me think that I'm a little crazy before I go, okay, I've dealt with this before. You see the holograms because they're not 3D, but they look 3D. If you go and look at a hologram, they've got a great one out where it shows a whale jumping out of a gymnasium floor with the ocean following it, and it looks absolutely solid, and it looks like part of the ocean just showed up in a gymnasium, and the whale's really jumping there. It's interesting, and you're probably getting contact. So, And I always say, be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. And actually, it's be careful how you ask for it, and be sure that you really want to learn the lessons, because I've walked a lot of crazy places. So anyway, I am holding the connection to Ra. I'm very aware of the places that this light has flowed across the world today. And I'm seeing it as a one moment and a one time. Be aware going forward what you want to grow from the seeds that you've planted. I know a lot of you have had a massive amount of what people call downloads, and a lot of those are cellular. And we've also been having a lot of humming pieces and energetic pieces that are really affecting our cellular physicality as well as what's going on in our minds. And this is a time to give yourself some solfeggios, keep in some good sound waves. I don't burn a lot of smudge anymore. I do a lot of sound, tuning forks, crystal bowls, that I'm more likely to spray a water base or asperge. But keep yourself in the atmosphere that you want. Keep clearing the weeds in your life so you have what you need to grow what you choose. And you're most welcome about the sharing. I have to say, look, I think that my live is working. A complete change of operating system, redoing my computer totally. Don't want to get rid of a 2 terabyte computer that has all of my software in it. This has all been challenging through the technology, but this is Aquarius. This is the age of the wave bearer, and it is barely beginning. Aquarius does not bear water, it bears the waves. And you know you're inside it, which is why we needed to go virtual. Blessings to all of you. And stay strong. Hold your truth. Do not move into conflict. You don't need it. You don't need to feed their awareness. I will tell you, if the anger rises, let it move through and alchemize. Saying it once aloud is better than it echoing within your soul, within your body, over and over and over and over and over again. Move it through. Find your balance, find your center. Remember this connection to the solar temporal consciousness. And I will be back up and rolling. We're going to be integrating the old Ancient Powers group into House of Life. And we're going to be having a lot more people in here, a lot more folks that are working in a lot of different ways to bring information for stripping out what we don't need in our life, coming into health, and stepping into real power. Blessed be Neferka.